And we're recording verb, function, and clauses. So we have main verbs and auxiliary verbs, right? We already talked about that. A main verb play a central role in clauses. They usually occur in the middle of a clause. They are the most important thing in the clause. Why? Well, the main verb play a central role in a clause because it will create a thing called valency pattern on the one hand. Then they usually occur in the middle of a clause. Yes, it is true, usually, not always. When not? Well, when you have imperative clauses. With imperatives, you have the verb phrase, the verb, it is placed at the very beginning, right? Or what happens when you have an intransitive verb, for example, I run. In that sentence, I run, in that clause, I run, run, it is not in the middle of the clause, it is at the end of the clause because it is intransitive. And finally, they are the most important thing inside of a clause, basically because without a verb, you can't have clauses. Let's remember the grammatical hierarchy in which you have this, well, the grammatical hierarchy, which is a hierarchy, right? Therefore, one element is inside of the other. The element at the bottom is a constituent of the immediately upper element, right? So within the grammatical hierarchy, then the morpheme is inside of the lexeme inside of the phrase, and the phrase is inside of the clause, right? Now, a main verb is the main element of a clause because without a verb phrase, you cannot have a clause. What you will have then is just a group of phrases, not clauses. Okay, so one defining element of a clause is the presence of a verb phrase. That's one defining element. Finally, main verbs determine the other clause elements. That is to say, they determine the valency pattern. Valency pattern. Then what's the valency pattern? The valency pattern is a term with the same general meaning as verb subcategorization, verb pattern, or verb complementation. This is important because you might want to go into other grammars, into books, and then you will not find the word valency patterns, right? Term valency pattern. You might find verb subcategorization or verb pattern or verb complementation, okay? But they all refer to the same idea. Then valency pattern is the pattern of clause elements. They can occur with a verb. That is to say, or for example, intransitive or monotransitive, etc. So yeah, with the valency pattern then is the pattern of clause elements. That is to say, the way in which those phrases will be placed in relation to in relation to one another. Okay. What or not what, but which, or I don't know. Yeah, which, I think which element then will rule over this placement. Which element will rule over this placement? It is the verb, and not any verb, but the main verb. The main verb of the main verb phrase. I do need to show you this. Okay, when I say valency pattern, I'm going to use a book now. Okay, this is a book, The Longman Student Grammar of Spoken and Written English, and now I'm looking for one specific element, which is the valency patterns. I am okay. Actually, I mute you. There was a Miko. Just I have to go and find it out. Word classes. we're talking about valency pattern. I'm looking for one specific chart in this book. Phrases and clauses, syntactic rows, phrases and their characteristics, type of phrases, noun phrases, verb phrases, adjective phrases, adverb phrases, prepositional phrases, clause elements and their patterns, and here we have. Okay, this is what I meant when I say valency patterns. And as you can see, every single English clause is built around one of these patterns, okay? It is absolutely impossible to create an English clause without these patterns. Yeah, and then one of you might say, okay, teacher, you know what, but I've seen some other stuff in some other places. And I will say, yes, of course, you've seen that. There are variations of this, but basically what I'm saying with valency pattern is the canonical version of the English language, right? I'm not referring to any specific dialect or in any specific emphatic usage of, right? Yeah, but basically this is the key. Say, when I say, for example, Sarah and Michael disappeared, it has a pattern. The pattern then is subject and verb phrase, verb, right? So Sarah Michael is the subject and disappeared is the verb. She changed her dress is she is the doer of the action, therefore the subject. And then changed is the verb phrase. And then her dress is the receiver of the action, therefore the object. And as it is the only one, is the direct object. Then the Swiss cheese has gone bad. The doer of the action is the Swiss cheese, therefore that's the subject. The action has gone. And finally, bad is stating quality of the subject, right? So it's called subject predicative in Weber's grammar, which we also have to state that in Weber's grammar, he called them subject predicative, but in Quirk's grammar, which is the one we're going to use, we call them complements, subject complements, okay? So whenever you see subject predicative, we are going to use subject complement. Then in 4, Mark was in the bathroom. Then Mark is the doer, therefore subject. Was is the verb phrase, therefore verb. And in the bathroom is a place, right? Therefore it is an adverbial. ¿Me iba a decir algo?
I have a question.
Yeah.
No entendí bien lo de subject predicative.
It's a matter of terms. Bider is the one using that specific term, but we're following other authors. We are basing our analysis on Quirk, a type of analysis. Therefore, we won't call them subject predicative. We will call them subject complement. But that's it, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's a change in the term. Okay, you're welcome. Well, and then you can see all of them. Okay, the difference then from now on is this. Okay, why do we need to say that? We need to say that because there's a change, or we're going to add more information to our analysis. Okay, looking for, that's it. Okay. So for example, oh crap, wait. Okay, for example, if I write this, they are sending us to Disneyland. Right, they are sending us to Disneyland. Now I'm going to make my analysis. So the doer of the action then is they. This is a noun phrase performing the role of subject. Are sending is a verb phrase performing the role of verb. They are sending who? Us. Therefore, this is a noun phrase performing the role of object. And now they are sending us where? To Disneyland. Therefore, this is an adverbial of place. And this is a prepositional phrase. Adverbial. ¿Ok? Lo que acabo de hacer entonces es añadir el valency pattern a mi análisis de cláusulas. ¿Sí? Entonces es importante saber que debemos conocer un par de términos nuevos ahora. El primer término de subject, el segundo es verb, el tercero es object y el último es adverbial. Diría que el subject es el doer of the action. Este sería la acción. El que recibe la acción. Y esto responde a WH questions como where, when, why, how. Nos quedaría solo uno que sería el complement. El que añade información. Through objects and subjects. Sus símbolos son subjects. Perdón. Verb, object, adverbial. No me salió. Complement. ¿Alguna duda respecto a esto? ¿Hasta dónde vamos?
Yo tengo una duda, pero no sé si es tan relevante, sino que algo más como superficial. In the analysis, you put it like in the top, noun phrase /s of the valency pattern. But when we are exercising, it doesn't matter if we put it like on the top or on the back, arriba o abajo, I mean.
On top or below? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Por
Okay,
ejemplo,
but it does matter the /s, b, o, dependiendo de lo que corresponda.
Absolutely. We might
Yes.
do this. Oh, okay, again. We might do this. We might do this in this another way. Like, for example, we would say that they is a, there. Wait is a noun phrase subject made out of a pronoun head. That way, right? The problem would be when you do something like this, like this is a prepositional phrase, adverbial, made out of a preposition, head, and a noun phrase. No, there's no problem, I think. Any. See, you can do it on top or below, it doesn't matter. It's the same idea in the end. It is the same idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Any other question, guys? Girls, people?
Here.
Yeah.
Teacher, that yesterday you put some other kind of letters like an O and an I, or an O and a D.
Yes. Here we're saying it. Okay, these are valency patterns and these are examples I made yesterday. Okay, in these examples, you can see some letters, the valency patterns, I would say, right? The subject, verb, I'm talking about this and this, the subject, verb, object, adverbial, subject, verb, and here is something different. In that one and in this another one. The thing is this, in the example I bought you this, I'm working on this, easy. In the example, I bought you this. Okay, the very first stuff I will say is that we have to separate this clause by finding its verb phrase. So the verb phrase is bought. Therefore, this is a verb phrase verb. Always verb phrase verb. Verb phrase verb. Then in front of it, we have the doer of the action. Therefore, this is a noun phrase and this is the doer, so a subject. And then I have two other letters, two other words like you and this. The question is, who receives the action? Right? Entonces, aquí hay que hacer un par de preguntas. ¿Qué es lo que yo compré? ¿Cierto? La respuesta. This, ¿cierto? Ahí está. Yo podría decir entonces como pregunto, ¿qué es lo que compré? Esta acción cae directamente en este lugar. ¿Sí? Por lo que a esta noun phrase yo la voy a llamar of object, porque responde a un qué, es una entidad. Ahí pillería de la vida. Los objects son noun phrases. O cosas que funcionen como noun phrases, que vamos a ver en algún momento de la vida en el futuro. Podría resumirlo de mejor manera, podría decir que los objects hacen referencia a entidades. ¿Sí? No. Entonces, I bought you this. This, que es una noun phrase y que hace referencia a una entidad, le pusimos object. Pero no es cualquier object, es el que le cae directamente la acción del verbo, por lo tanto es un direct object, o de. You es otra entidad y es otra noun phrase, o sea, podría ser otro object. Pero a you no le cae directamente la acción del verbo, sino que le cae de manera indirecta. Por lo tanto, por eso se llama noun phrase indirect object. Su valency pattern de esta cláusula es SVOO, en el cual el indirect object está antes del direct object, porque la acción del verbo cae directamente en la segunda entidad. ¿Queda claro eso?
Sí, profe.
Ya,
Sí,
va.
profe, gracias.
Ahora, voy a aprovecharme de este ejemplo para hacer el review de todo. Es súper importante cachar que, ¿por qué esto se escribe así? ¿A qué me refiero? I'm saying, why do we need, why must we do this in this manner and not in any other? Like, for example, why not using just one object? Why two objects? Well, the answer for that comes in the verb phrase, because this verb phrase contains one verb head, and that verb head is the verb bought right? The verb but in this case requires the presence of two different objects after it because it is a transitive verb. What does it mean? It means needs two objects after it, right? So this valency pattern is a product of this transitive verb, right? What does transitive mean? In fact, it is called transitiveness. That's the noun, transitive. A transitive verb. What does transitiveness mean? It means that the action transits from the doer to the receiver. Therefore, from the subject to an object. Therefore, transitiveness means that the verb requires an object. How many? The transitive, 2. Monotransitive, 1. Intransitive, none. ¿Queda claro?
Profe, tengo una duda sobre como, so if si es intransitive, sería que no es transitivo o simplemente que no necesita sigue pasando directamente al objeto, pero no necesita el objeto así como explícito.
Mira, si yo dijera, veámoslo. Buena pregunta, me gustó.
De hecho, yo apreciaría que diera como ejemplo de eso, porque
Sí, también.
me lo explicaron así como en primer año el léxico y nunca me quedó claro.
Ya. Lo que estamos viendo ahora es una cláusula. Oh, profe, ¿por qué es cláusula? Porque tiene un verbo. Oh, profe, si no tuviera un verbo, no sería cláusula, sería frase. ¿Estamos claros con esa idea, cierto, ya o no?
¿Sí?
Ya, bacán. Oh, justo se va a acabar el tiempo, parece que alcanzamos. I run, ¿cierto? Ya, I run. I run es una cláusula porque tiene un verbo. Está hecha de dos frases. Es una cláusula hecha de dos frases. Entonces, la acción y aquel que hace la acción. Esto es una noun phrase, subject, y esto es una verb phrase, verb. Estamos hasta ahí, ¿cierto? Sí. Entonces, su valency pattern es SB. Valency pattern. Entonces no tiene O, ¿cierto? Entonces yo diría que run es el verb head. Y ahora ¿sabéis que no quiero enredarlos con las cosas que no van en los ejercicios? Así que voy a escribir en azul, no, en verde. Este ejercicio, para que quede listo para la prueba, es esto. Eso es suficiente. Todo el resto que voy a escribir ahora son comentarios. ¿Ya? Para que no nos enredemos. Entonces, run es un verb head. Entonces, este verb head is very important because it creates this valency pattern, ¿cierto? SB. Este verb head, entonces, yo voy a decir que es intransitive. ¿Por qué? Porque es SB y no hay una O. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Que la acción de run termina en run y no necesita de un otro elemento al cual mover su acción. Por eso es intransitive. No transita. ¿Queda claro eso?
Sí, profe.
Ya.
Y había una
Sí.
pregunta en el chat igual, por si acaso.
Estamos trabajando en eso. Estamos trabajando en eso. Estamos trabajando en eso. Can you repeat the things about detransitive and transitiveness? Yeah, we're working on that. So this is intransitive because it doesn't move, it doesn't transit, it doesn't transit from the verb to any other object on the one hand, right? Now, let's move with some other example. Okay, let's move with some other example. I can say I see. I play football. If I say I play football, then clearly is a clause, but this time it has three different phrases. And obviously the noun phrase subject, the verb phrase verb, and then another noun phrase. What do I play? I play football. So this is an object, right? También fácil porque los objects son entidades. Fútbol es una entidad. Y los objects, como son entidades, tienden a ser noun phrases. Football is a noun phrase. In this case, the valency pattern is SVO, right? I play football. And in this case, you can see how the action play moves and transits into the noun phrase object football. Therefore, there's transitiveness, right? In this case, then, we will say that the verb play is a monotransitive. Why mono? Because it just requires one object. Mono, just one object, right? Finally, I bought you this is detransitive. Because it moves its action into two different entities, right? Therefore, its valency pattern would be SVOIOD. The direct object is this because that's the direct receiver of the action, and you is the indirect receiver of the action. ¿Estamos bien allí? Sí.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, some of it, yeah. No quiero que sea un experto en Valency Patterns hoy día, solo quiero que comprenda cómo funciona. ¿Sí?
Entonces, después para futuros análisis, así como en las pruebas, también necesitaríamos poner Valency Patterns.
Yes.
¿O no?
Yes,
Yeah.
sí. Sí. Es importante.
Solo colocar la SVO, o por ejemplo, hay que colocar en algún análisis como que es transitivo, que no es transitivo, etc.
No, a no ser que lo pida el ejercicio. Pienso en que como estamos estudiando verbos, podríamos decirte, ya mira, según este Valency Pattern, caracterice al verbo, al main verb en el verb phrase que corresponda. Y ahí tendrías que dar como información. Pero si no, es tal cual como los ejercicios anteriores, solo estamos agregando estas letras de arriba.
Ok.
¿Ok? Esto está lleno de pillerías. La primera pillería es que yo separaría los valency patterns en un principio, los separaría ¿de qué forma? Diría que los sujetos y los objetos son entidades. Entonces se representan, se escriben en cualquier cosa que pueda representar una entidad. Lo que te estoy diciendo entonces que son noun phrases. Los sujetos y los objetos son entidades, entonces son noun phrases. Entonces, si veo noun phrases, antes del verbo es un sujeto, muy claramente, y si la veo después del verbo, es un objeto, muy claramente. Eso es una de las cosas principales. Lo otro que diría es que las prepositional phrases tienden a ser adverbials, y por eso se mueven. Lo otro que diría es que los complements, que no los vimos en estos ejemplos, en algún momento los vamos a ver, pero es que no es tan necesario tampoco, pero los complements tienden a ser adjectives. Por lo tanto, tienden a ser adjective phrases. Eso. Pero es cosa de hacer mucho análisis y nos vamos dando cuenta de cómo funcionan. Su mecánica no es tan difícil. ¿Ya? Chiquillos, corto y volvemos.